So Islam Makhachev defeated Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 284 last night, but did Alexander Volkanovski really lose? Now I see what a lot of people are saying. Volkanovski, this was a close fight, right? That's not what I'm breaking down just yet. I will do that in the latter half of this video at about 6 minutes of this video. Right now, I just want to touch on the fact, did Volkanovski lose this fight? Right? And I'm not technically breaking this down. I'm not going round by round yet. Again, that's going to be later in the videos at about, again, 6 minutes of the video. But I'm saying, did Volkanovski's stock drop after last night? Because I don't think it did. I think, if anything, Volkanovski's stock rose exponentially after last fight. I really do. I think this fight with Volkanovski, I think it was this fight between Volk and Islam, it's pound for pound #1 versus the pound for pound #2. It's an incredible fight. This fight doesn't happen much. This fight doesn't happen much in boxing. You don't see this fight in boxing. You don't see this fight all the time in MMA. First time this has happened in MMA, right? So I don't see how Volkanovski's stock dropped at all when this is a close fight, right? A fight that is decided on 2 of the judges' scorecards by 1 round. 1 round, Islam Makhachev won this fight. I don't think that we need to be discrediting Islam Makhachev, right? Because by saying, oh, Islam Makhachev is terrible, his takedowns are nothing like Khabib Nurmagomedov, that is discrediting Volkanovski, because Volkanovski lost to that man at the end of the day. So don't discredit Islam Makhachev, because he put up an amazing fight. It was a great fight overall. It was one of the most high-level fights I've seen in a while. The striking of Islam Makhachev was just fantastic. And the striking and the wrestling and the takedown defense by Volkanovski and the able to sprawl and get back up to his feet was amazing by Volkanovski, right? So there was things working in both ways that we didn't see coming. And especially for Volkanovski, because many people did not give him a chance in this fight by any stretch of the imagination. Everybody said, oh, Islam is going to roll over him, right? We all, I think a lot of people wanted Volkanovski to win this fight, but not a lot of people actually expected him to do what he did out there, which is why it was so impressive, right? People didn't see this coming. Everybody was saying, you know, he's the pound for pound #1, but that's at featherweight against guys who don't grapple like that. You know, he's not used to this grappling. Again, Islam said he's got 15 seconds in the octagon with him before he starts to just panic. He kept saying Australia doesn't have wrestlers, and that's a narrative that a lot of people believed, including myself. I doubted Volkanovski, right? That's in the prediction video of mine. I said, I think Volkanovski is going to lose this fight. And he lost this fight, but again, I'm saying his stock rose in so many people's eyes last night. He showed how he is still, to many, the pound for pound #1. Going up in weight, giving up 10 pounds in weight. And I get it, on the fight, on the night of the fight, they were the same weight, or the day before they were the same weight, but then on the night of the fight, you know, Volk is severely below Islam Makhachev, and I'm saying that's not his weight class, right? So he goes up there and pushes the champions to the limit when nobody had pushed him to the limit. Islam had defeated Bobby Green by TKO, just ground and pounding him. Thiago Moises, Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, anybody you could think of, Gleison Tibau, Nick Lentz. So many good fights. There's actually a lot of good fights on Islam Makhachev's record that not a lot of people actually look into. Arman Sarukian, all these people. I get Arman pushed him a little bit, but that was a 3-round fight, right? Nobody had pushed him like this, right? Volk goes out there and pushes this man to the absolute limit. And again, like many people said, if there's a 6th round, Islam's finished in that 6th round by a lot of people's takes that he gets finished in that 6th round if there is a 6th round. So a lot of people want to see a rematch, right? So many people want to see a rematch between these two. And that alone says he did not get trounced, because people only clamor for a rematch when there's a reason for it. People only want to see a rematch, when Holloway barely gets beat by Volkanovski. People want a rematch. His stock did not drop at all last night. In fact, it rose. That is what I'm here to say. It's not the fact, Volkanovski lost this fight or did he win on the judges' scorecards, because if he had won, obviously it would have gone through the roof. But again, I don't even see that part of it right now, because I'm looking about what really happened at this moment in time. Volkanovski went out there, lost this fight, but his stock rose exponentially, and it was an amazing fight. It really was. It was an amazing fight, and that's what I'm here to break down now. I'm here to break down, did Volkanovski lose this fight technically and on the scorecards? So in that first round, I've rewatched this fight, by the way, 2 extra times, or maybe 3. It was 2 or 3. I think the 3 times actually. I've rewatched this fight 3 times after the fight, so I've seen pretty much every single thing that's happened throughout the fight. I know pretty much all the exchanges that happened. I know pretty much all the controversial things from each round. So that's what I'm going to be breaking down right now for you guys. We'll be breaking down, did he lose this fight? And honestly, I think it's a toss-up. I think it's who you imagine won this fight. I really do. I think to a lot of people, I think Volk won. To a lot of people, I think Islam won. I think it's whoever you were looking for to win this fight. I think you just pushed him over the edge to win the fight. But if you're looking at him, and I think it's 50-50. So let's break it down. So I think there's a good, strong, let me say this, I think there's a strong case for each fighter to win this fight. I think that both fighters did amazing things, and that's what I'm about to say. So in the first round, Alexander Volkanovski, it's a very, very slow first couple of minutes in the fight before Alexander Volkanovski lands a big lead left hand that knocks Islam Makhachev off balance and actually sends him stumbling backwards, right? A lot of people get this confused. This was not a knockdown by Volkanovski, right? He just pushed him with a good left hand right into the cage. He kind of fluttered him backwards. It was a very good shot, and it definitely got Islam's attention. And then basically, Volkanovski is here, and they're fighting again. Volkanovski kind of gets a little desperate in this fight. I don't want to say desperate, but he's lunging into pretty much every combination, and that's what I'd say. Volkanovski pretty much started a lot of the combos in this fight. A lot of the exchanges were started by Volkanovski, and that's why you saw very good counter boxing and counter striking by Islam Makhachev, and you'd see that later in the round. So later in that round, Volkanovski pushes in again, lunges inward with some big shots, actually lands. They're trading. They're pretty good, and then Islam Makhachev lands a shot with his forearm that clubs Volkanovski like that, and it actually drops Volkanovski. Volk goes down to a knee. It's a very fast flash knockdown, very similar to the UFC, I think it was 251, where in the co-main event of that fight, when Max Holloway hits a nice head kick that lands right there on the dome of Volkanovski, and Volk falls just like this to a knee and is able to get back up immediately. But then in this exchange, he gets hit with the shot, goes down to a knee, and then Islam doesn't really land much, but then he lands a head kick that partially lands, and then he kind of chases Islam down, or chases Volkanovski down, and Volk actually lands some pretty good shots while Islam is chasing him down. And then the takedown happens, and Volk gets taken down. So I think you'd have to give Islam Makhachev round 1. While I do believe there's an argument for Volkanovski winning this first round, I think because of the knockdown for Islam Makhachev, by the way, which was not counted in the fight for some reason, I would give it to Islam Makhachev. I believe this is a 10-9 round to Islam Makhachev. Also, he did have effective grappling at the end of the round, right? He was putting him in a face crank, so that was probably the most effective grappling of the entire fight, I think, for Islam Makhachev, because he actually was cranking the face of Volkanovski. So I would give that first round 10-9 to Islam Makhachev, right? So moving on, we're going to the second round, right? In the second round, there was a couple of big moments, right? There is actually a left hand, again, that lands pretty much behind the head of Islam Makhachev that is thrown by Volkanovski, and that actually drops Islam down by the fence. Now, a lot of people saw this as a slip. A lot of people saw this as, oh, Islam shooting in on a takedown. This was a knockdown. It landed behind the head. It was not counted again. The only knockdown that was counted in this entire fight was the 5th round knockdown, when there was 3 knockdowns throughout the fight. So this knockdown, it lands right here behind the head. It actually drops Islam, and this one drops him down, and Islam is actually able to take down Volkanovski right after this. He gets the takedown and he secures it, but Volkanovski is able to fight back up to his feet, and the scrambles by Volkanovski was just top tier, man. So many great positions that Volkanovski was just able to stick an arm in or stick a leg in a certain spot that would just give him leverage, and he was able to get right back up to his feet. So he's able to get back up to his feet, and then Volkanovski goes on the attack again. He lands, I think it's a 1-2 and then a leg kick, and then he throws a big right hand, lunges in, and then as he's leaning backwards, he gets clipped with a big pull left hand by Islam Makhachev that rocks Volkanovski. It doesn't drop him. I don't know how it didn't drop him. Volkanovski goes flying back to the fence. It's a pretty hard shot, one of the harder shots of the fight, and Volkanovski was stumbling back into the cage. Basically, I don't think that gives him the round. I really don't. I think that this round goes to Volkanovski because of the knockdown, and also he actually did have some effective time against the cage where he did land some pretty good shots against the cage. So I'd give round 2 to Alexander Volkanovski. Moving on to the third round, I saw this was a very, and also no judge gave Volkanovski the second round, by the way. That's just for you guys to do what you want with that. So then I'm going with the third round. In this third round, I believe Alexander Volkanovski won this third round. I think that he went out there, and I just think he landed the better shots. I really do. I think he was able to kind of just hit the better shots on on Islam, and actually, overall, over time, he just landed more cumulative blows. But I do believe that Alexander Volkanovski won this round. He was given this round on 2 judges' scorecards, so I'd give him round 3. I really would. And then in the fourth round, this was a very controversial round, and it's depending on how you look at this, right? Are you grappling heavy, or are you striking heavy? You're about to find out. So in this fourth round, Islam lands a pretty good left hand and a pretty good right check hook. So those are probably the biggest the biggest shots that land on the feet of the round. And then Islam gets the takedown as Volkanovski's charging inwards. It's a perfectly timed takedown. Gets it, Volkanovski crawls over to the corner of Islam Makhachev, where he tells Javier Mendez how he's going to get up. But unfortunately for Volkanovski, he gets a body triangle. Around him. Islam is on the back. Probably the worst position you could be in with a guy like Islam Makhachev. With about 3 minutes to work, you have Islam Makhachev on your back. It's not what you want to have. But he's actually able to prevent the submission attempts from Islam Makhachev, and he's actually able to land shots behind his head like this, right? And actually, if you're reading the judging criteria, it should be damage trumps all, but it's also effective grappling, or it's effective striking and effective grappling, and it does say in the rules, in the fight-ending blows, not accumulative punches. So the punches to the back of the head are accumulative punches, but they're not punches that lead to the end of the fight. Therefore, I would have to give Islam Makhachev round number 4. Watching it live, I was getting hyped up because of the crowd, so I originally did give the fourth round to Volkanovski, but upon rewatch and reading and interpreting of the rules, I think you do have to give the fourth round to Islam Makhachev because the body lock, and that's one of the most dominant positions you could have. So far, I've given round 1 to Islam, rounds 2 and 3 to Volkanovski, and round number 4 to Islam Makhachev. Even though he landed a bunch of unanswered strikes, cumulative blows do not trump effective grappling that could directly result in the finish of the fight. So that's how I scored the fourth round. Let me know how you scored that fourth round. I think a lot of people gave that round to Volkanovski because they felt, oh, it's a big moment in the fight. Everybody's cheering. He's landing the punches. But if you read the criteria, effective grappling that will lead to the end of the fight at that moment in time versus punches that cause accumulative damage, it does trump that. That's just what the rules say, and accumulative damage does not trump effective grappling when effective grappling could result in the end of the fight. So it's very debatable. I get what a lot of people are saying. He landed like a bunch of unanswered strikes, but overall those fights are not going to end the fight. Those strikes are not going to end the fight unless Volkanovski was there landing elbows that were just slicing him open, and you saw Volkanovski trying to move positions. Then it would be a different case. But overall, these little punches around the head does not result in a fight-ending moment. So therefore, I would give the fourth round to Islam Makhachev. Going on to the fifth round, the fifth and final round. This was the clearest round of the fight. A very 50-50 round for pretty much, I'd say, a half of the round or more, because it's about the final 2 minutes when Volk goes on the attack. Actually, he pushes Islam up against the cage in many moments, and he's able to actually put him against the cage, shoots in on some of those own takedowns, tries to trip him down to the ground, and eventually he gets up. As Islam shoots for a takedown with about 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the round, Volkanovski lands a big right hand that sits Islam down, and he is able to keep him there for the rest of the round, and that obviously gives Volkanovski round number 5. So I had it 3 rounds to 2 rounds in favor of Alexander Volkanovski. I could see an argument. I really could. I could see an argument for the third round to Islam. I could see an argument for the fourth round of Volkanovski. But that's just how I scored this fight. I scored it 48-47 in favor of Alexander Volkanovski. But then again, I don't believe anybody's stock dropped after last night, especially Alexander Volkanovski. It was an amazing fight. I would love to see it again. I think Alexander Volkanovski just really showed up last night. And I don't want to take anything away from Islam Makhachev because he had an amazing fight. So don't go over there hate on Islam. It was an amazing fight. I think we can all agree on that. And what an atmosphere it was. So let me know how you guys thought of this fight. I want to hear your scorecards of this fight. Put it down in the comments. Everybody wants to know. It's all anybody could talk about in MMA right now. So let me know what you thought. Peace out.